Food Not Bombs is a global, all-volunteer organization dedicated to sharing vegan or vegetarian meals with hungry people while also invoking social change through nonviolent means. The idea for Food Not Bombs came about in 1981 when a group of 8 anti-nuclear activists set up a soup line outside one of the Bank of Boston stockholder meetings to protest their investment in Seabrook Nuclear Power Station. Worried that the group wouldn't be able to finish all the soup they prepared, they invited people staying at a local homeless shelter to come get a warm meal. This set the groundwork for the now worldwide Food Not Bombs. Although there is no central Food Not Bombs group and each branch is relatively independent of the others, they all operate for the same cause and on the same principles. The first principle is that all meals will be either vegetarian or vegan. The second is that a process of consensus will be used to make decisions, meaning that there will be no presidents and no headquarters dictating the operations of the group. The final principle that Food Not Bombs operates on is that the organization will not be a traditional charity, but rather a group dedicated to taking nonviolent, direct action to change society. The Sacramento chapter of Food Not Bombs is no exception to these principles. The group prepares vegan meals and serves it at 1:30 p.m. every Sunday at Cesar Chavez Park in downtown Sacramento.
I've been working in Sacramento with Food Not Bombs for about 7 years.
I've been off and on part of Food Not Bombs, I guess for about a decade.
I've been here since the last year and a half, almost 2 years now.
I think what I like about Food Not Bombs is that it includes such a variety of people who are working here. And it's not based on anybody's religion or gender or age or any of those things. It's a real mixture of people, and to me that's a joy.
I really like Food Not Bombs for a number of reasons. One, that it's serving vegan food compared to some of the other places in town, and it's really hearty food, so we get that compliment a lot from people, where they're saying it's one of the heartiest meals that they had all week. You know, rice and beans and some really thick kale salad, and a bunch of other things. I also like the kind of just the environment of getting together and cooking and everyone divvying up the task, and it's pretty well organized in that way, so people don't burn out too fast or any of that. I like that.
I think food should be free and is a right, not a privilege. Shouldn't regulate people's hunger, you know. There have been people arrested in other cities for feeding people, which is crazy, you know.
Well, I think the thing that I really liked in the beginning and that I try to write in any of the literature that I put out is that everyone has a right to eat. And there's plenty of food in this country. There's so much waste. And a lot of the food that we get even from organic farms is seconds, but it's beautiful food.
Yeah. Food Not Bombs relies heavily on donations from local farms and stores to prepare meals weekly. The bread store, located in downtown Sacramento, donates all of their leftover bread to a different group every night to minimize the amount of food they waste. Food Not Bombs is lucky enough to receive Saturday's leftovers, and my sister and I have been fortunate enough to get to know the wonderful store and their employees through our weekly bread pickups on behalf of Food Not Bombs. Additionally, much of the donated produce comes from Durst Farms in Yolo County, Fiddler's Greens in Brooks, California, and Soil-Born Farms in Rancho Cordova.
Usually carrots or apples. Because you got to help the less fortunate and try to get people back on their feet, and hopefully by feeding them it will help.
The donations that the Sacramento branch of Food Not Bombs receives from local farms and businesses are used to prepare a completely vegan meal to provide a sort of diet to people who may not otherwise be exposed to such a healthy way of eating, and to promote veganism and all the benefits that come with it.
I became vegan for the purposes of animal liberation. I think there's a lot of hypocrisy in our society. You know, people like, how can anybody hurt a dog? You know, but then they're perfectly fine with raising pigs in terrible conditions and killing them for food, that you can get everything that you need from other sources. So that was my initial reasons for becoming vegan, but after that then I learned about the environmental aspects. In California, with our sort of boom and bust of water resources and the drought, we have to be very conscientious about how much water we use, and meat production and dairy production, all of that uses a lot of water. Additionally, you've got deforestation and for a lot of the imported beef, or the areas where cattle grazing is allowed on public lands. There's damage to streams. The best things that you can do in order to reduce our negative impacts on global warming is to adopt a vegan diet. And then there's the health benefits. So reduced incidence of cancer, reducing your risk of heart disease, diabetes, sort of all of the above, almost. So it's a very important thing to me personally, but also I feel like to our society as a whole.
So you don't need to have all of those kinds of things that we're kind of grow up thinking that it's part of our diet, an important part of our diet. And so if we don't use those things, then there's a lot more food to go around. And that's my concern. John Robbins, early on in Diet for a New America, he talked about how we could have enough food. We could have so much more food if we just ate differently.
As we continue to deplete the resources of our planet, it's becoming more and more crucial and important. I think that there is increased exposure in the media as well as direct media through social media, but additionally it's sort of like a cumulative change as the younger generation is, I would say, perhaps more open and more comfortable with this as an idea. That is where the bulk of the growth in vegetarianism and veganism is happening, is in younger generations. Definitely a lot of the food that we share is very healthy, and if you don't have adequate financial resources, it can be very challenging to eat a healthy diet. So that's something that I'm personally very proud of, that we were able to offer very healthy food that tastes good, and introduce people to new things like tofu and butternut squash, and all these things that many people wouldn't be exposed to otherwise. And then also sort of being able to present veganism in a positive light.
Yeah, values extended into real life. Yeah, share. Share the abundance. Share the surplus. Don't throw it away. If you have too much, share it with somebody. It's too much the hoard and waste lifestyle. It's really a cultural thing for a lot of these kids. Are kind of from upper middle class families. They've really been around a lot of homeless people and crazy people, and people on the margins, on the edges. So I think it's really good for them because they develop compassion and realize that not everybody lives like they do.
It would be nice to have more of a connection throughout the community. I think more people would be involved and it could be spread out more if just more people knew.
I think we hit all the key points. Thank you so